Hello, 10th and 11th graders. This lecture hopefully will be shorter than the last couple. I know that the last few have been rather long this week. This is also the last lecture for this chapter, as it covers the last bit of information for this chapter before your test, which will be tomorrow. Your test will be, I do believe, a attached test on LMS, not your chapter review for this one. I do plan, I think, to do the chapter review for the last chapter that you'll be doing next week as the test. But this test, again, I believe, and I will tell you otherwise if that's the case, but I believe will be an attached test on LMS tomorrow. All right, so a couple things here in this last section. Courtesy order. This one's really easy, okay? And it makes sense if you think about it. Always put the person to whom you are speaking first, all right? When you are listing people or you're saying people, and always put yourself last. One example here, because this is a really easy rule to follow. You, your sister, and I are good friends. So if I were saying this sentence, I am in fact putting you, the person I'm speaking to, first. I'm putting someone else, if I'm speaking about that person, next, your sister, and then I'm putting myself last, and I. So the person you're speaking to is always first. You put yourself last, and anybody else would go in between if you have all three of those in that order. All right, next slide. Last bit of information here is on reflexive and intensive pronouns. A couple of things. The first thing, actually three things. The first thing I want to go over with you, and these are listed in your book, is the list of 8 reflexive or intensive pronouns. All of these 8 can be used as reflexive or intensive. All right, so the words all end in self or selves. They are all personal pronouns that have the words self or selves added. Myself, itself. Himself, herself. Yourself, themselves. Yourselves, ourselves. All right, now this next bit in green here on this page and at the top of the next page is not necessary for the section that you're doing now, but it helps in other sections of grammar. So I'm just reiterating it for you, okay? Usually reflexive pronouns are necessary to meaning, while intensive pronouns can be removed without changing meaning. This has to do again with if you have to label your pronouns as reflexive or intensive, which we do at times, okay? All right, last slide for today. Nevertheless, again, the gold standard for choosing whether a pronoun is reflexive or whether it's intensive is if a pronoun is indeed reflexive and would be labeled as such, it is used as an object, an IODO or an OP. If it is not reflexive, if it's rather just intensive, it would not be used as an object. Again, not necessary for this chapter, but good to know because is necessary at other times. Final thing here, and this is very important for this chapter, okay? You will see this in the exercises and make sure you understand this rule so that you can do the exercises properly, okay? A usage rule. Only use reflexive or intensive pronouns when you are referring as the writer back to the same clause's subject. Otherwise, you would use a personal pronoun. Here are examples of what I'm talking about. I bought myself a book. Okay, here we correctly use the reflexive pronoun instead of using a personal pronoun. We correctly use the reflexive pronoun myself because myself is referring back to the subject of this clause, I. I is the subject. I bought myself. Correctly used reflexive pronoun, a book. Myself there is your IO, by the way. However, the next one would not use a reflexive pronoun correctly, and I'll explain to you why. The best parts go to you and myself. Notice I've crossed out the reflexive pronoun myself, okay? Because here, myself, in order to be used correctly as a reflexive pronoun, must refer back to the subject of this clause. The subject of this clause is parts. Myself does not rename parts. Therefore, we do not use a reflexive pronoun here. Instead, we would correctly use a personal pronoun. Here, we would use the word me. The best parts go to you and me. So, again, only use reflexive or intensive pronouns if those pronouns refer back to the subject of the given clause. Otherwise, you can't use reflexive or intensive correctly. You must just use a personal pronoun. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me on LMS. Have a great day.